Welcome into the party on Broad. I'm Freddie Burrs, and we got a packed house tonight. Chris Dives, Ryan Reese, Rob Lange, and we are going to talk top 10 prospects tonight. I'm very excited. We're going to have a little parameters going with this. We're going 24 years old or younger. They can't be an established starter, so that kicks out Jalen Hurts if we wanted to sneak him in. We kind of knew he's not a prospect. Tyrese Maxey, he's out. Bryson Stott, he's out too. Before we get to this amazing list that all four of us have, we're going to go one by one from 10 all the way up to 1. I just want to thank our amazing sponsors, Dolan's Bar, the Cherry Law Firm, Sherry's Tickets, and PhillySportsTrips.com. With that said, gentlemen, let's kick this off with number 10, and we'll start with Ryan Reese. Ryan, who is your number 10?
Let me just bring up my list here. So I went, I wanted to get a nice mix of all four major sports here. So I actually went with Paul Reed. I think he is, coming to his own slowly over the last year or two. And I think this upcoming season, he could really take a nice giant leap into some significant role here with the Sixers, depending on how this team kind of shakes out this offseason, if they ever start doing anything.
I'm going to jump in. I was number 10. My number 10 was Paul Reed as well. It was hard for me. I was borderlining on 10, an honorable mention for him, because his upside is there, but I don't know that he's ever going to be a starter in the NBA. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I'm very curious to see how he is in a Nick Nurse system, which is more get out and transition and run. I think it's going to be much more set to his skill set the way Nick Nurse runs the team as opposed to at Doc Rivers. So, yeah, Paul Reed was number 10 for me. Rob, who's your 10?
Oh, my bad.
All right, that's all right. My number 10 is for the Philadelphia Flyers, and it's a guy that came over in the Claude Giroux trade, and that's Owen Tippett. And now here's a guy that when he came over, when the Flyers made that trade last year, everyone's like, oh, who the hell cares? They're just selling, it's not. The guy ended up with 27 goals, I think, last year. Played really well on a really bad team. I get it. And that goes against everything I've ever believed when it comes to Robert Covington, right? But here's Owen Tippett. Here's a young guy on a team that is obviously in a rebuild mode and could be a focal point with some of the other young guys they have in the system, which I'm sure we're going to get to a few names later. But I like this kid. If I'm not looking for him to be a superstar, but as far as being a major contributor as his team gets ready to win, I think he could very well be that.
Owen Tippett, good player. I like that there at number 10. Dodge, who's your 10?
Yeah, I didn't have Owen Tippett on my list. Ironically, I have 3 other Flyers on this list. And I don't talk a lot about Flyers, but we're going to get into it. Quentin says hopefully Reed gets unlocked by Nurse. Wants to see some lob passes. Go ahead, Rob.
When we get to my number 9, I got a little bit of insider information on Paul Reed. I'll bring that to the table.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to go in a different direction, staying on the court. And I'm going to go G League Steel Champion in 2023. I'm going Jaden Springer, man. This guy averaged a league-leading 2.3 steals per game in the G League last year. We already know this guy's elite when it comes to the defensive end of the floor. Still project, but like you guys talk about Paul Reed, I think he's a great fit under Nick Nurse. With it likely being that James Harden returns to Philadelphia, the Sixers won't have a lot of cap. They won't have a lot of ability to maneuver and make some big signings and things like that. They will need to build internally. And in comes Jaden Springer, who is a great fit under Nick Nurse. He's going to be able to fit in beautifully right next to Tyrese Maxey, which is a big deal. And, roster construction, man, those are 2 words we have not seen a lot of in Philadelphia when it comes to the Sixers. So I think Jaden Springer on my end deserves a shout out.
Love me some Jaden Springer. And I was a Jaden Springer hater. Absolute hater. Zaire Smith all over again. And I have him a little bit higher on my list. I'll talk more about that when we get there. but he really opened my eyes in that one game against the Hawks last season. So great call, and great call in his playing time. They can't sign anyone; they're going to have to play him. So he's either gonna succeed or not. So great call.
I'm low-key excited to see Melton and Jaden Springer in a Nick Nurse system. Like, I think those are two really good fits for Harden and Maxey. I think they should definitely get some. I'm not saying a lot of playing time, but they definitely should make an impact.
Well, that moves us to number 9. And Ryan, we'll just keep it in the same order. Who is your number 9?
My number 9 was Cam York from the Flyers. He played in 31 games last season, had 12 points, 44 blocks, plus rating of 9. Really, when he finally started getting some ice time, you really saw the skills, utilizing his speed, and just he's great at creating space for himself. So, I think given another full season, the Flyers are certainly going to be kind of a little awful this upcoming season or two. And he's one of the bright spots of this team. And I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing his development, throughout the next season or two.
Cam York's a good Flyers got some exciting stuff going on. I'm glad to hear Dives got some in the mix. I know Rob does. I do too. I mean, they've stunk for so long, but they got some young prospects. And Cam York, of all of them, I think he has 87 games under his belt. He's got a lot. He's NHL ready. He's already been playing, and he's on my honorable mention list. I really like Cam York. Any other thoughts on Cam York, guys?
My only worry is Cam York a guy that they end up moving at some point during this rebuild? Do they not keep a Cam York? I understand he's young, but he is a guy that's an NHL vet, right? He's got 87 games under his belt. That's why, I love him, and I think he'd be good to keep here. But the reason I didn't include him was I don't know how long a Cam York makes it in this rebuild process with the Philadelphia Flyers. Great talent, could very well be here, but I kind of wonder if he ends up being one of those guys that moves to a contender at a trade deadline at some point in the next year or two.
Yeah, 20 points in 54 games last year. We'll see if he can improve on that this coming year, and that probably will determine some things if they're able to move him for more or keep him around. Moving on from Provorov, he may be that guy that's going to sit in that spot, or maybe they get more for him. Keeping it Flyers, my number 9, upside-wise, could be the biggest possible superstar there is. I kept him down at 9 because I don't think he's anywhere near NHL ready at this point in time. When the Flyers drafted him, they drafted him 5th overall. Some people had him out of the top 10 and falling because of his lack of defense or lack of offense for there. He's always been able to play defense. But Cutter Gauthier, 19 years old, 6'2", 195 pounds, versatile, can play wing and center. The upside is amazing. I'm really excited. He's going to go back to Boston College for another year. He's been in talks with Briere about eventually coming up. But being so young, I think he has a little bit more time before he's going to get up. So I have Cutter at 9. Rob, who you got at 9?
So at 9, I got who a couple of you guys had at 10, and that's Paul Reed. And listen, I think that there is real mutual interest from parties that I've talked to that Paul Reed and the Sixers want him to be here. And not only that, I've heard whispers that they don't just want Paul Reed here as a backup to Joel Embiid. Yes, that would be part of his role. And maybe this is, as we talked about, the Nick Nurse effect. They see Paul Reed as a guy who could give them quite a few minutes at that 4 position. And if that's the case, I think Paul wants to be with a team that's winning. He likes the city. He loves, I think he likes his team. I think Paul Reed, he may not be a superstar. He may not be a starter, but let's face it, when you talk about a backup big that can play the 4 or 5 on the 76ers with guys like Joel Embiid on the roster, you are going to play a major role for this team if they're ever going to get past that hump. So, that's why I think Paul Reed comes in on this list, because I do believe he's a pivotal player if he's here to the success of this team.
Interesting you say, and I'll let Dives talk on it, but I listened to postgame after postgame of Dives and whoever was on with him talk about putting Paul Reed at the 4, and will they just give it a try? Give it a try. My only concern with him at the 4 would be spacing on the floor. Would he be able to knock down that corner three and the stretching of the floor? Dives, I'll let you talk more on that.
You nailed it, man. When it comes to like position versatility, pushing tempo, turning defense into offense, he's right there when it comes to fitting in with Nick Nurse's system. I don't expect the Sixers to become this uber pace, high pace offense, but that's exactly what a Paul Reed gives you, that chaos, that disruptiveness on the perimeter, in the paint. I definitely think we're going to see a huge uptick in minutes. You look at Trez, declining recently in recent news for the Sixers. I think that's all the Sixers franchise saying Paul Reed's going to be the guy. And going back to Embiid and Paul Reed at the 5 and the 4, why not? That's what we need Nick Nurse to do. Experiment. Doc Rivers didn't do any of that. It's about finding what combinations work, getting ready for the playoffs. Why not? Let's see it.
Oh man, oh my gosh, Paul Reed. I'm losing my train of thought. What I was going to say. You do your number 9. Oh my god, I can't believe I just.
No, our first 7 are all Sixers and Flyers, which is really interesting.
Sorry, cut you back. Not Paul Reed. The $2.7 million from Harold. That's what I was gonna say. I was so nervous because I don't know where he's getting that money elsewhere because he's cooked. Like I was so nervous that he was just gonna eat that money and just sit there on the bench all year. So that was what I was gonna say, and that does open it up for Reed. It's interesting because I'm worried Reed is going to get a deal elsewhere that we're not going to be able to match because you can't overpay for him either because you're not fully sure on him.
The key there is he does not want to go to a losing organization. So it's got to be a team that has the ability to win and the cap space to sign him. So that, I think, plays into the Sixers' hands as well.
Rob with the inside info there, too. Good to hear that. Dives, who is your number 9?
That's great news. I would be destroyed if we saw Paul Reed go to a different NBA team. My number 9, I'm going away from the Sixers and Flyers. Give me Mick Abel, a Phillies big-time pitching prospect, number 48 overall by MLB Pipeline, 6'6", prototypical size, great frame, elite fastball that sits around 95, 97 miles an hour. Low to mid 80s slurve. This is a guy that really boils down to his command. He averaged 4.2 walks per 9 innings last year. That's a high number, but it was an improvement from 2021. The bad news is his numbers this year in 2023 kind of returned to those numbers. He's actually averaged 5.2 walks per 9 in 2023 with a 4.62 ERA, but like I love that the Phillies are identifying this a similar mold of pitcher. The guys that throw high heat and they'll work on the command later. They will work on the stuff later. And Mick Abel has some really intriguing upside, man. If he can consistently locate his stuff, I think he has a front end arm upside, and we could probably see him at the end of 2023 in the bigs. It's also worthy to note, when you look at the numbers, he's given up a lot of home runs, which looking at Aaron Nola, not the greatest thing you want out of coming from your pitching staff, but Mick Abel was for real.
Yeah, he's a huge prospect. Like you said, you nailed it. The control's the big thing. I had him in my honorable mention, but he could certainly be a top end 2 guy in the rotation if he gets it together, maybe 1 even. Let's move on to number 8. Rye, who's your number 8?
All right, so already been talked about, and it's Jaden Springer. Again, I was kind of debating Springer and Paul Reed, and I just think, Paul Reed, just looking at his kind of ceiling, I like, what I feel like the higher ceiling is with Jaden Springer, and he obviously didn't really get any playing time, barely this year. But as I believe Dive said, this year he's probably going to be relied upon to get some minutes this year because of the team and how it's going to be constructed. So I'm really kind of excited to kind of see his improved shooting and what he can do with some more minutes. I think he's definitely one of the best prospects the Sixers have right now.
Yeah, Jaden Springer is a great call. I have him higher up as well. I like to see that he's moving up the chain here. I'm going to switch gears for my number 7. I'm going to go to the Eagles, and my number 7 is Cam Jurgens. When he was drafted, he was going to be supposedly the heir apparent to Jason Kelce, but Kelce continues to play. I don't think that stops the prospect status and how good he can be. I actually think it benefits him to sit back a little bit here behind Kelce. But if Kelce moves on, which it seems like, I don't know, maybe he continues to come back, but I think Cam Jurgens is not only an important, as far as prospect upside, to be that guy and take over. I just think it's very important for the Eagles that he actually is that guy. So Cam Jurgens is my number 8. Rob, let's go to you. Who's your number 8?
So my number 8 is kind of someone that was just touched on by Dives at 9 is Mick Abel.
Right.
And really it's 2 reasons for me. One, look, I don't pretend to know everything about the young baseball guys, right? The prospects, but he's been considered an untouchable now for going on 3 years in the Phillies farm system for good reason, obviously. But the other thing that plays into this is Aaron Nola, contract up after the year. And the way things are looking, who knows if he's going to get a deal. Zach Wheeler only has another year after this. Eventually, you're going to have to get a couple of these homegrown pitchers to come up and be that top of your rotation guy. Fortunately, he doesn't need to do that now. And like Dive said, maybe we see him as a September call-up. He comes up and gets some innings towards the end of the year with another name that I'm sure all of us will have on this list at some point, who hopefully will be up before September. But I think that's something to keep in mind is that, the Phillies have a couple guys at the top of the rotation that are there, but Nola could be gone at the end of the year. Wheeler could be gone in 2 years. You got to have some of these guys step up, and Mick Abel could be a huge name for them.
Great points on the free agency aspect and the possibly losing Wheeler as well. At some point, you got to draft well. You can't just go spend free agent money on 5 pitchers, and Mick Abel actually needs to pan out now that you put it that way. Dives, who do you got at 7?
Yeah, man. This is my first flyer. I'm going to go big-time prospect Bobby Brink. Is a guy that is a project. He kind of needs to build more of a shooter's mentality. He needs to improve as a skater in terms of speed. He needs to add more strength, but his upside is so freaking legit. I think he could be a 20-plus goal scorer in the NHL. I think he's got an elite skill set. I think he has great instincts. This offseason is huge. I think if he stays healthy and with the upcoming Flyers rebuild, I think he could really hit 2023 running, not running, sprinting, and make an impact. Bobby Brink is a fun one.
12 goals in 28 games with the Phantoms. There's a strong chance he'll make the club this year. Bobby Brinks is a great one. So much. His name's kind of cool too, Bobby Brink. I feel like that's like a name that's going to be a star or a stud type player. And we're on the brink of our first ad with David R. Cherry Esquire. So call David R. Workers' compensation, motor vehicle accident, personal injury, criminal law. Call David R. Cherry Esquire now, 610-565-0300. Let's move it up to 6. We're almost into the top 5, boys. Ryan Reese, where are we at with 6?
Right. Let's see.
Aren't we at 7?
7. Yeah. 7.
10 minus 3 is 6, or 10 minus 3 is 7. 10. Yep, we're at 7.
I'm making sure I didn't miss one.
Yeah, you're making me redo my math here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So for number 7, I had just like Dives, I had Mick Abel, and Rob obviously had him too. I just think, as you guys have said, with everything that's going on with our top 2 pitchers right now in the Phillies organization, there's a reason why our top 3 overall prospects for the Phillies are pitchers, and with Abel. I don't know if he'll there. I think had a real shot for next year for sure. In fact, for spring, but you're absolutely right. It's going to be so paramount that him and the other guy we'll talk about later hit and actually can contribute to the Phillies and their pitching staff over the next couple of years. And they got a lot of guys in their pipeline, and these two, especially Abel, definitely need to hit. We need to have them hit. So.
Love me some Mick Abel. We all touched on him, but we don't elaborate much more. I'll go in with my number 7, kick right in. Mine is Nakobe Dean, the linebacker out of Georgia. Basically was a prospect to be a first-round pick and continued to fall. The Eagles took him. The reason he fell, some say it's because of injuries. Others say it's because of his size. I'm a Georgia fan. I know he was the quarterback of that defense, not last year, obviously 2 years ago, that national championship defense. All the players the Eagles are drafted from Georgia talk about how excited they are to play with him. And word out of OTAs is he's wearing the quarterback helmet now, taking in the plays for the Eagles under Sean Desai. I think he has the only thing that scares me is he's too good. If Nakobe Dean is too good and has to be paid an exorbitant amount of money in 2 years, he's gone because we're not paying the linebacker position. Linebackers are just like running backs. You don't need stars. You just need good ones. You don't need to draft safeties and try to convert them into linebackers, which Howie continued to try to do for a while. We actually have a linebacker here. So Nakobe Dean is my guy at number 7. Rob, who's your number 7?
So my number 7 has been talked about a little bit already is Jaden Springer. And to be honest with you, Jaden Springer would be higher on my list if I didn't have this feeling of, is he someone that gets thrown in on a Tobias Harris deal if a Tobias Harris deal is made? Because in my opinion, if he's not and Tobias Harris is gone, and for all the reasons we talked about, Jaden Springer becomes pivotal to this rotation. He's the guy that can defend on the perimeter. He's the guy that hopefully is continuing to improve his 3-point shots. What's that? Oh, 3-and-D, which we are begging to get in this town. And this is a young kid, as Dives has said a lot over the last month or so specifically, the idea of a Springer-Maxey backcourt in the near future is something that we may see, and he may become pivotal. And honestly, if I had 100% feeling that he would be on this roster, he'd be higher on my list because I think if he's here next year, even as a bench player, he's even more crucial than, say, a Paul Reed, in my opinion, because he's the guy that you're going to put on a Jaylen Brown or a Jason Tatum on that perimeter to try and, free something else up.
It's worth noting that he was the youngest prospect when he was drafted, and he's entering his 3rd season, and he's still younger than the prospects that will be drafted tomorrow night.
That's crazy.
That's where and I want to ask you this question, Rob. Would you then hold on if you're the general manager? Wouldn't you rather hold on to Tobias Harris and just roll with it than lose a guy the potential of Jaden Springer just to get rid of the contract?
Yeah, I'm not. Listen, I've been clear. I don't want to just trade Tobias Harris just to trade him. I want to get pieces back that are going to fit the roster that, as we said, that you're trying to construct. But if you have a chance to get a legitimate player and they say, listen, you got to throw Springer, you got to have the conversation if you're trying to win now. Because as I said, this idea of a stopgap year just doesn't work with Joel Embiid because you just don't know how many years you're going to have left of the big guy. So that's why if a deal comes up where it is a big name that can make a huge difference, then yeah, you may have to consider it. But I'm not doing it for, just some run-of-the-mill 2 guys that can fit a need. I'm not giving up Jaden Springer for it.
Gotcha. Dives, who's your number 7?
My number 7 is Nolan Smith. I mean, this is a guy who's always been an elite prospect. He was the number 2 prospect coming out of high school, according to Rivals. He was arguably the biggest winner coming out of the NFL Combine. 4.39 40-yard dash, 41-plus inch vertical, just 238 pounds, but just an absurd athlete. An edge rusher that can set the edge. Based on everything I've seen from this dude, he looks like just a perfect culture fit, which is like underrated. Like finding guys that fit that Philly mold is really important. He's going to learn and develop under Hassan Reddick. I'm not sure how many snaps he's going to get, this season. He still needs to add some weight, needs to get into that 250 range, I think. How his run defense translates into the NFL, how he improves dropping back into coverage will be super interesting to watch with Nolan Smith. But like his upside is so tantalizing. And like when kind of Hassan Reddick is kind of moving out and passes the reins to Nolan Smith, man, that's going to be really exciting.
Nolan Smith, another Georgia guy. I'm going to save for what I have to say when I get to him. I have a little bit higher, but agree with everything you said, Dives. And the injury, the torn pec, kind of, I think, had him fall in the draft. The Eagles totally lucked out being able to get him at, what was it, 29, 30? Where do we take him at?
It's like 29, 30, something.
29, 30. All right, moving on to the sixth, our sixth best prospect. Let's start with you again, Ryan. Who's sixth?
All right. So I have Nakobe Dean as my sixth best prospect. And, when I was looking at the Eagles prospects, I took my linebacker bias out of it. I absolutely am enamored with this kid and cannot wait for him to, basically, get his full shot here. Now that, some of the players ahead of him are now gone. But yeah, Dean, I mean, again, we have all these Georgia players, and I know we're going to keep talking about them throughout this list here. But, Dean, I think, is probably one of the more important Eagles on this list for this upcoming season. Him hitting and being the guy at linebacker is, I feel like, a lot more important considering the lack of depth that we may have around him. As opposed to some of the other guys, as we're going to mention, these Georgia prospects that have a little bit more of a kind of a leeway and can kind of slowly ramp up here this upcoming season. But Dean, if he can be the guy this year, man, that defense is going to be something special.
You make a great point, Ryan, with him being more important than the others because, who else is going to play linebacker? We don't have anyone else there.
Right.
We have guys. But are they going to be successful? If Dean isn't going to pan out,
right?
It's a huge hole. It's a huge gap. We're going to say
that weighed into my ranking. The fact, again, we'll get into it. We'll be talking about Nakobe Dean pretty soon. But that was a big factor, big variable is that getting that star, that signal from Sean Desai that like you are the guy being the quarterback of the defense at such a young age. That's interesting to say the least.
Well, if there is a huge hole with him playing bad, I got the guy next at number 6 that's going to fill that hole, and his name's Jordan Davis. Now, Jordan was injured a ton last year, but it was clear when he was in the game, the run defense significantly improved. He's not going to be a guy that's going to pad the stat sheet. You're going to see a ton of stats. He's going to be that cog in the middle that's taking up offensive linemen, making tackles behind the line of scrimmage, maybe get some pass rush here or there. They brought in his other teammate, who I'm sure we'll get into later, to handle all that stuff. Jordan Davis, I think, is going to be huge. And I think he's going to be just at that, maybe like that Hollis Thomas point where like he's very good, but he's not a Pro Bowler every year, so that you can keep him under contract year after year. And I think he's going to be a mainstay in Philadelphia for years to come. Any thoughts on Jordan Davis?
Yeah, I mean, you could just pop him in. He was my number 6. And it's a lot of the same reasons that you just had. Why don't I have him higher? Because I do believe Jordan Davis will be part of, how they change in and out the defensive tackles, right? They normally are going to have 3 or 4, and they're going to do a rotational thing. And he's a guy that may get rotated out a little bit more than maybe some of the other ones, but it doesn't mean he's not important to this team. I mean, they have to be able to stop the run. They have to be able to stop the run so that guys like Nolan Smith, Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, Nakobe Dean, but so guys can tee off in the passing game. So I mean, he's going to play an integral role, and the only reason he's not a little higher is just that. I think he will play more of a rotation because of where his strengths are compared to his weaknesses, but crucial to this team.
I had him at number 4, and I'll just talk about him real quick. I thought he was really coming into his own in that midway area of the season, and then he got injured, and then Linval Joseph and Sue and kind of just took all of his snaps when he returned. He never really recovered. I think Jordan Davis is right there with Nakobe Dean, like I have him at number 4, a guy that could have a huge breakout season. Guys that are like the least sexiest players in the NFL, just guys that will make everyone around them better, most notably Nakobe Dean, because I think he's going to allow Dean to kind of play to his instincts, play to his natural playmaking ability, being a cog in that middle of the defense. It's huge.
I love them guys. I love the guys that don't get the credit. They're my favorite. I guess I'm a lineman. I'm a lineman at heart. Who's your number 6, Dibes?
My number 6 is Tyson Forrester. I'm going the Flyers route here. I think this guy has uber amount of potential. Quentin, get out of here with Derek Barnett. Get out of here, man. Come on, man. I think he showed a lot of flashes with the Phantoms. Forrester had 48 points, finished second on the team with 20 goals, was named AHL All-Star. I think he took big-time steps in his development last year. Showed he could be a legit dual threat forward. He can move the puck around the defense, fire through it, make an impact. I think he needs to work on his skating like the other guy mentioned. But I think he has a chance to be a full-time player with the upcoming Flyers rebuild. Again, I'm excited as a Flyer. I'm not the biggest Flyers guy, but the fact that they're committing and going to be retooling around some fun prospects like a Bobby Brink, like a Tyson Forrester, it's exciting.
Tyson Forrester, and I'll talk about him. I got him a little higher, is my most exciting prospect with the Flyers.
Nice.
But my most exciting place to get tickets is Sherry's Ticket Town. Go to www.sherrystickets.com today. They got sports, concerts, theaters, everything. Go to the Phillies game. Go to Sherry's Tickets. Sherry'sTickets.com. Type in the promo code EOP. Get 10% off. Guys, they got no hidden fees. It's not like the other vendors where you got this cool price. You get to the end and they slap on $45 per ticket. That's not the case here. The price you see is the price you get. Sherry's Ticket Town. Check them out today. Moving into the top 5 now. Do I have my math right? Help me, Rob. Did I screw up? I was good at math, too. I was very good at math. But let's go. Sorry, I almost skipped you, Rye. Rye, who is your number 5?
So my number 5 is Jordan Davis, as Rob and Freddie, you guys had the previous pick. All for the same reasons. Again, we got teased with Jordan Davis last year, saw really great flashes. As you said, the run game completely was different with him out there. So I'm excited to see a full healthy season, hopefully this year. 2 more Georgia teammates next to him. And I think, I debated whether or not to have Dean or Davis, which one to kind of put ahead. But I just think, Davis and his upside and what the eventual duo of Davis and Carter could mean for this Philadelphia Eagles defense, I just think is too great. So I gave him the nod there. But, yeah, I'm so excited to see this defense and this front 7, with Dean and some of these young guys there on the line for the Eagles.
Great points. Capping off the points that were made earlier, but great points on Jordan Davis. Very excited to see him this coming year. And I think sitting behind Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh and Hargrave is going to benefit him as well. At the time, it didn't seem like it, but now it's kind of a blessing in disguise. He got to learn from some vets like that. Moving to my number 5, that's where Jaden Springer comes in for me.
Wow.
And this guy really opened my eyes in that game against the Hawks. Not only he was fearless, and that was my concern. The few sheltered minutes he got previously, that he looked like a scared, lost puppy. This guy was ready to take on Trae Young, stopped him on the final possession to send it into overtime, and not only that, wanted the ball in his hands, made big shots, made big threes, as well as big drives to win that game. Now, I'm not saying that Jaden Springer is going to be the guy with the ball in his hands to make those plays, but the fact that his mindset is one to do that tells me that this guy's ready and he's going to succeed in the role with the Sixers. He totally turned my mind in that. I know it's one game, but it showed his mindset to me.
Love it.
Rob, who's your number 5?
Yeah, my number 5 is Nolan Smith. Like, look, this guy is who you hope becomes the next premier edge rusher, not only for the Philadelphia Eagles, but you hope throughout the league. He's going to learn from a guy that he was comped to in Hassan Reddick. The hope for a kid like this is that he becomes better than Hassan Reddick. He doesn't have to be the guy this year, which is great. He gets a year. He's going to play. He's going to be active. He's going to make some plays, but he gets to learn from the guy that he's being comped to. I mean, there's really not too much of a better situation. Not to mention, this kid just strikes me as that chip on the shoulder kid. He fell all the way down to 30. No one expected it. He's made quite a few comments this offseason about it. It almost reminds me of how Draymond knows all the names of the guys that were picked ahead of him. Like, I always love that Draymond Green can name every dude picked ahead of him. Nolan Smith has that. He's got that dog in him, and I don't mean that because he's from Georgia. I mean, he's got a dog in him, and I think this kid could be the next big thing. And when you look at 3/4 of the defensive line coming from Georgia, then you have a line. I mean, the sky's the limit if these kids hit, man. It could be really, really exciting.
And I think Dive said it earlier, being under Hassan Reddick, he's going to have to put the weight on, but being able to study it because he played some linebacker at Georgia as well, and Hassan Reddick's kind of a tweak in between where he came out as a linebacker too. So it's very similar, as far as what they did in college and into the pro. So I think that's going to help him tremendously. Dives, who do you got coming in at 5?
And kind of on a related note, like Jordan Davis came into the NFL, like unless you're a homer, like nobody expected that guy to be a 3-down starter in the NFL from the jump. Nobody playing along quite possibly one of the best defensive lines of all time. I think we can stop overreacting that Jordan Davis kind of had an up and down rookie season. Now he's going to have a big breakout season in 2023, but the guy I want to talk about is Nakobe Dean. If there's a breakout player on the Philadelphia Eagles, it has to start with Nakobe Dean, man. Again, like you all said, high IQ defender, excellent communicator, big-time playmaker, took the season to learn under Kaiser White and let the speed of the NFL game kind of come to him because that's what this guy is all about. He's all about instincts. He's all about feel. He's all about making quick reads. And I'm excited. Clearly, the Eagles see something special in this guy, and that's all we can – we're not there. We're not watching him practice. Again, he got the green dot on defense during camp. I think this guy has an insane upside to put up some monstrous tackling numbers in 2023. And if it all goes well, this could be one of the best Eagles picks. Third round, I think? Yep. I'm really excited.
Exciting stuff with Nakobe Dean. I think we all agree there. Moving on to the 4th round. Ryan Reese, who is your fourth best prospect? Who do you got?
So I'm going to go with Nolan Smith. As everybody keeps saying, the importance of these Georgia young guys here to this Eagles defense is insane. If they do exactly what we all hope that they can do, this defense isn't really going to skip a beat. And what the beauty, I think, of bringing on defensive linemen to this Philadelphia Eagles defense, with the rotation that they have, I feel like it almost takes, some of the pressure off of being a, first rounder, a rookie. You're not in there every play. You can kind of, get in there, get some experience, take a rest, get some coaching, get back in there. I think it's just an easier way to kind of get used to playing in the NFL for these guys. And I think Nolan Smith is going to be a benefit from that rotation tremendously. The players, the vets around him, having his Georgia teammates there. And I just think, super, again, under the radar, kind of like could be the best of them all.
Agreed. And agreed so much that Nolan Smith is actually my number 4 as well.
Nice.
You all nailed it. Everything you have said on him. The injury and only playing the 8 games, I think, hurt him again. I think, as Dodd said, he has to put the weight on, but he has all the intangibles to be an outstanding edge rusher. Can he do the rest of the stuff is the question. I think worst case scenario, he's ND Kalu, who got a lot of sacks here as an Eagle. He couldn't really stop the run, but he was a spot pass rusher. Worst case scenario, that's Nolan Smith. But obviously having him here at 4, I expect much more. Rob, who's your 4th?
My 4th is who I believe is the most important player on the defensive side of the ball for the Eagles. You've all basically talked about him already, and that's Nakobe Dean. I think Nakobe Dean is the first chance at the Eagles having a difference maker at linebacker. Some may say Jeremiah Trotter. I go back even further. I think it could be Ever. I mean, Chuck Bednarik difference maker type. I'm telling you, when I talked about a dog in Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean just seems like the kid who has it. And if he hits, it would be the one time where I would pay a linebacker if he was that good. You know what I mean? I know you don't need to do that, but my hope for this kid is he's that good that you can't let him walk out the door, that you have to give him the money to be the quarterback of your defense. I think it benefited him so much that the guys in front of him last year played well enough that he could sit back and just take it all in. I know the concerns about the size. I know all of that. But, I forget what game that was, Tennessee, where he gets in late in that game. He took down Derrick Henry. He took down Derrick Henry by himself. He knows how to play to his size. The guy can play football. And when you put the gargantuans they're putting in front of him at that defensive tackle position, dude, his kid comes downhill, it don't matter his size, he's going to kill you. I am so excited to watch Nakobe Dean. And let's face it, the defense is going to be made or broken, I think, on how well he plays. I really believe that strongly in Nakobe Dean.
It's going to get really interesting when they draft Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and put those two beasts on this defense and go crazy.
It would be glorious. It would be something we've never seen here.
No.
Linebackers flying around.
Because, like you said, 2 years Nakobe Dean, then you got Jeremiah Trotter Jr. locked in for 4 years. Let's do it. Let's roll it.
Yep.
Hopefully, by that point, they get rid of the salary cap because there's going to be no way to pay all these guys if they all
Yeah, and both how he likes his linebackers that can kind of drop back and cover. I think both project very well and covered.
Mm-hmm.
Dives, number 4 for you is Jordan Davis. Anything more to elaborate on him?
Not at all.
All right. Moving to our third best prospect, Ryan Reese. Go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to switch it up from the Eagles' love right now and go with the best pitching prospect for the Phillies, best overall prospect, and that's Andrew Painter, which I know you guys are going to be talking about here soon. This guy, let's all admit, we all just kind of were assuming that he was going to be the guy, come in, hopefully spring training, and make the squad. Unfortunately, tweaked something's finally getting back. And, now we're just anticipating his call up. It's obviously going to be happening here, shortly as he continues to recover. But, yeah, this kid has had just exciting stuff. And he's, in my opinion, one of the better pitching prospects we've had in quite some time. I can't wait for him to come up and you give this team and this, rotation a jolt of energy because, with everything that's going on with Nola and kind of the back end of our rotation here, we definitely need some help here if we're going to make a push to try and get back to the playoffs.
He just threw a bullpen session yesterday, which is a great sign.
Yeah.
He's not even supposed to be up. They penciled him in as a fifth starter. Like if you do the trajectory of players drafted and this timeline to get to the MLB, and
Right.
he just continues to do leaps and bounds. So, he's eventually got to be your number one down the road. Hopefully this injury isn't anything long-term. There was Tommy John rumors at times. I'm glad he got a second opinion on that, but yeah, Andrew Painter's definitely up there for me as well. My number 3 is Tyson Forster of the Flyers. He was the 23rd pick in the draft in 2020. He got some time last year, 3 goals and 7 points in 8 games. Electric is the word to use for him on the ice. So much so, they sent him back down because they thought they were going to bring up the young guys to lose games, and they started freaking winning. so much they sent them back down. And Torts loves him. Torts is freaking in love with him, which tells me the mindset of Tyson Forster is one that is going to fit Philadelphia and the style of play Torts is putting together. I think this guy went from a good prospect that might be a good player to most likely a perennial all-star year after year. I don't think he'll quite be a superstar, but perennial all-star year after year, Tyson Forster.
Love it.
Rob?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Ryan here. It's Andrew Painter. I mean, he was supposed to be your 5th starter. All the things I talked about with Mick Abel, it's even intensified with an Andrew Painter as a guy that you want to be at the top of your rotation at some point. Look, I actually think, as weird as this sounds, as long as there's no lingering effects from it, I think this injury could have played out well for him, because they were going to have to put him on an innings restriction this year as it was. Well, say he doesn't come back till the end of July. That innings restriction is probably going to take you, hopefully, into a playoff run. I love, I love the kid's swagger. Just a few times I've heard him talk. I love the way his confidence in himself. Look, he's huge. I mean, he's huge. The Phillies are in a window right now. They're in a window, and you got to hope that the window doesn't shut closed on them if they lose Nola and then Wheeler a year later, because they have these young guys to move up. And Andrew Painter's going to be the biggest reason why their window would stay open.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't agree more. Dives, who you got at 3?
I'm going to go to the ice. Give me Cutter Gauthier, the 5th overall pick for the Flyers in 2022, man. Went to Boston College, continued to impress, led the Eagles with 16 goals, 37 points in 32 games. Dazzled for the United States on the international stage, logged 10 points in 7 games at the 2023 World Junior Championship, as well as 7 goals and 2 assists in the 2023 IIHF World Championship. One of my favorite messages is from my guy Amadeo. He'll send me Cutter Gauthier highlights of goals and things like that, and he makes some amazing shots, man. It's clear when you watch tape, man, this guy's all over the ice. He has a major skill set that I think we haven't seen in Philadelphia. The guy puts pucks into the net. He's a pure goal scorer. He's a playmaker. I'm really excited to see this guy when the time is now for Cutter Gauthier. It's not going to be relatively soon. It's going to be down the line. But I think this guy has big time potential, and I got him as higher upside than everybody else on my list. I think he's an amazing prospect.
And a name like Cutter, he's got to be awesome. Like that, Bobby Brinks is a great name. Cutter, Tyson. Like I feel like we're set for like a Legion of Doom type squad in a few years to come back here. We just got to add that superstar. And I'm going to cut right in with an advertisement for PhillySportsTrips.com. They got a trip going up to Chicago here at the end of June. That is sold out completely. If you missed that, head on. That's going to Chicago. This one's going to Pittsburgh, July 28th to the 31st. Go to PhillySportsTrips.com. Book a trip today. They also have the Eagles, Sixers. Yeah. They even got the Ryder Cup if you want to go there. Check out PhillySportsTrips.com. Moving into the final 2. Ryan Reese, who do you got for 2?
I'm going right where Dives was. I'm going with Cutter Gauthier. Yeah, this kid is something special. I mean, just seeing what he was able to do on the international stage, he looks like he more than belongs. He looks like he's playing with kids, and he's a kid himself. So yeah, he's definitely one of those guys that hockey can be a little weird sometimes with our prospects. So sometimes takes a little while, but yeah, he's going to be going back to college for another year, so we probably won't see him until the 24-25 season. But I am so excited to get him, and hopefully by that point we will have gotten the Flyers on the right path with Jonesy and Briere getting this team right. So by the time he comes up, with some of these other guys that we're talking about, Tyson and Bobby, could be a really, really, really nice squad if the things are done right. And Cutter is 100% going to be the forefront of that.
Yep, 2 first-round picks this coming season. They're looking to trade veterans for more picks. Exciting times in the near future for the Flyers. My number 2 guy is with you guys, Andrew Painter. You guys said the most you could about him. He's outstanding. He's going to be a number 1 guy. He's averaging a 96-mile-per-hour fastball, going up into the triple digits. I mean, this guy's the guy. Injuries is our only question mark. Hopefully he gets back here late July, early August, can be our 5th starter. And great point by Rob on the innings restrictions. He likely won't have them because he's only going to have half a season. So good point there. Rob, who's your number 2?
My number 2, we're going to go back to the Eagles, and we're going to go to the guy in Jalen Carter. I mean, listen, this has got to be the guy that they hit on that is a perennial Pro Bowler, that is wreaking havoc on offensive lines they face. He's got to do a little bit of everything. Maybe not right away, as we said, because they bring Fletcher Cox back for the year. You have Jordan Davis here. There's going to be a rotation. But at some point, you want Jalen Carter to become that guy that just puts fear in the opposing offensive lines. I'm not going to say he has to be this guy, but you want him to have that Aaron Donald-like reputation, that people are game planning specifically for Jalen Carter. I think this guy is being maligned in the media for the things that took place off the field. I think people are a little naive when they go, well, why did he show up to his workout out of shape? Keep in mind what just happened, people. He just lost a friend in a car. He's in 2021, 22-year-old kid. That's going to affect you mentally. All right. And now he's in a situation where their leadership in the Eagles locker room might be the best around the league. And he gets to learn from these guys. And I think it's going to make a huge difference for him. And I think, he's going to be the guy for a long time on this defense.
Crap, that's going to affect anyone mentally at any age, let alone being 2021.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's tough, a tough pill to swallow, especially being a part of it as well. So I agree with you. He is being maligned, but we've seen many other NFL greats get maligned through the draft and in the media end up being studs. So I agree with everything you said about Jalen Carter. Dives, who's your number 2 prospect?
Quickly, it's one of my favorite things in any sport, man. I love watching a young pitcher grow on the mound, and it's Andrew Painter for me. The guy's an absolute beast. MLB.com had him as the number 6 prospect in baseball, the number 1 pitching prospect. This is a guy who can pound the strike zone with multiple pitches. His fastball is elite, sitting at around 95 to 97 miles an hour. Opponents hit just 190 against his fastball. He threw it for strike nearly 70% of the time in 2022, which is one of the highest marks in the minors, man. He's also got a devastating slider. He's got a devastating curve that just drops. For me, it's Andrew Painter. I've been counting down the days. Anybody that knows me, to watch Andrew Painter. I just got over my nightmare of Spencer Howard. So for me, Andrew Painter is the second coming, man. I can't wait to watch this guy, and I dream of this guy pitching in a big game for the Phillies in the playoffs.
And fun fact about Dives, he's actually a pretty good baseball player from what I hear, so he knows his baseball as well.
I was a pitcher, yeah.
So number 1. Let's move on to number 1. Drum roll, please. Who is your number 1 prospect in Philadelphia sports, Ryan?
All right. Well, it was a pretty easy one. Jalen Carter, newly drafted Philadelphia Eagle, and everything that Rob said just absolutely rings true. This kid, we got extremely lucky that he was able to fall to us. We made the move. We jumped up one spot to secure him at number 9, and the simple fact is that you have this kid. He's going through a lot, and he comes to a team, as Rob said, who's might be the most, stable locker room. It's a fun locker room. It's a veteran locker room. They're going to teach him how to become a professional. And if he, can kind of put all that, stuff behind him, it's the sky is the limit for this kid. And you're going to have him and Jordan Davis for the next God knows how many years. I mean, good luck trying to run the ball anywhere near this Philadelphia Eagles team. So I am so excited for the future of this defense and this defensive line in particular. And Jalen Carter is absolutely paramount in how this team is going to look in the future for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I agree. He's my number 1 as well. I expect, and rest in peace, I expect Jerome Brown type stuff from this guy. I expect total domination. Aaron Donald, all pro after all pro after all pro from Jalen Carter. For me, he has to be number 1 if he's going to be that type of guy forever. He's going to be his number should be retired. Like, that's the type of guy that he needs to be. He fell to us. We lucked out. And shout out to Howie Roseman for year after year. He's now drafting the good players. He's not outsmarting himself. And I'm so thankful he took Carter.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Let's roll on to Rob. Who's your number 2?
Number 1.
All right, who's your number 1? My bad.
So, listen, there was nothing better for me over the years of watching Flyers playoff hockey and watching stars come out to shine. But with all that said, was Eric Lindros the last true superstar that they had? It's time for that to change. Cutter Gauthier is that, I believe, from everything I read, from everything I watch, this is the guy to turn this franchise around. He's what people wanted Claude Giroux to be.
Yeah.
Like, if you remember when Giroux was drafted, it was around the times of the Crosbys, the Ovechkins, and they said, well, Giroux may not be as good, but he'll be right behind him. That's who Gauthier, I think, can be. I think Gauthier can be that next level talent that just changes the culture of an entire organization. I won't say he's Sidney Crosby. Can I say, can he be Evgeny Malkin? Sure can. I mean, I think that this kid could bring the Flyers. It has pained me that I can't turn a Flyers game on the last couple of years. That it's just been impossible to watch them, because I always did enjoy watching Flyers hockey. It was always fun for me. I think, and I know everyone's saying, well, he's not coming up. He's a few years away. If they were in contention, if they were a better team, I believe they would have tried to talk him into coming up this year. I firmly believe that. But because of where they are, go back to college, continue to grow and develop, come up in a year or two. I cannot wait when this kid signs, man. I am so excited for the future with this kid.
Absolutely. My number 1, just real quick, is Jalen Carter. No surprise. He was my number 1 prospect in last year's draft. The Eagles got him. It was a massive steal. There's a guy who wins with power, wins with explosiveness, speed, change of direction skills. He's big enough to anchor double teams. He already possesses a legit NFL moveset to attack the quarterback, get into the backfield. His explosiveness off the snap is so freaking exciting. And then against the run, man, maybe one of his best skill sets, period, is his ability to shed blocks and showcasing his play strength and power and all of that. And he consistently dominates blockers to the spot, man. There's a guy who can play 3 downs, be a perfect fit next to Jordan Davis. For me, it's got to be Jalen Carter, man. Words cannot express how excited I am to watch that guy hit the football field. You guys know me. I'm a trenches guy. I've always been. And, I feel like, elite defenses win inside and then out. And if you're like middle of the defense is not great, you're going to struggle. And for me, Jalen Carter, I think, has that rare Aaron Donald upside. So he is my number one. So that basically wraps it up. I'll throw it to you, Ryan. Let's do quick final thoughts on our rankings and plugs.
All right. Yeah, man, this was a great exercise. I'm glad that it seems like everybody pretty much had one or two from each squad here. Yeah, it was a nice mix. Obviously, Eagles dominated as they've had they've had a lot of draft picks early in the last couple of years here. So no surprise there. But yeah, this was great. Again, I think that the fact of the matter is, all the Eagles prospects we had, except for one, were all defensive players. So super excited about that. Phillies, same thing, pitchers. And Flyers have some great young kids as well. So yeah, this was great. I had a lot of fun. As far as I'm concerned, or as far as I have just follow Philly Sports Alliance, Twitter handle right down there, Facebook, YouTube, the normal. You can certainly search for all your favorite podcasts on Spotify and Apple and all that fun stuff. So. Appreciate being on here.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Rob, you're up, man. Any final thoughts and plugs?
Yeah, biggest takeaways, the Flyers, right? 9. They come in second in this. It's exciting. It's exciting. I know a lot of people were like, oh, they just went back to former Flyers in the front office. They didn't go back to that former Flyer, to that Broad Street bully. They went to guys like Danny Briere, who's worked his way up, like Keith Jones, who I think really understands the pulse of the league. I'm excited to see what the Philadelphia Flyers can do. I think we know about all the names with the other guys, and obviously the Eagles are going to be very exciting for years to come. But seeing the Flyers have these young, talented guys makes me pretty excited going forward here. As far as me, catch me at Philly_Madness, probably saying some stupid things on Twitter. Catch me every week here with my boys on Party on Broad, and that's about it.
I have a few takes. I have my first take is I'm the only one that has one Sixer on their list. So the fact that I'm a Sixers guy and I'm the
right,
that's crazy. Number 2, I don't talk about the Flyers ever, and I have more Flyers than anybody else on this list. That's crazy. So that's something. I think, which, like Rob said, which I think is exciting given their foundation and where they could go moving forward within the next 4 or 5 years. And I'm really excited. I think there's a really good list of fun prospects. I think there's a nice balance. I think it's important to note the Eagles have 3 players of 30 years of age or older on the roster. Guess what? The Eagles have 3 picks in the first 2 rounds of next year's draft. So those could be major contributors if we do this in a year from now that we put on this list. That could be fun. And I'm talking about a new right tackle. I'm talking about a lot of different things. So we'll see. Maybe Trotter, Axman Jr. We'll see. We'll see. Man, if they sign Axman, that guy, just lock him into the top 3. Just lock it. All right. So on Friday, I think it's Friday, Ryan, we'll be talking Big 12, top 10 Big 12 prospects in the 2024 NFL draft. So expect a lot of that. Tomorrow is the NBA draft. If the Sixers do make a move, I will be doing a breakdown of that. So expect that. And that basically wraps it up. On the horizon, we'll be doing a lot of Eagles and stuff as we get ready for this Eagles season, and also get ready for Sixers Summer League content that will be going down, as well as they probably will drop that roster announcement next week, I would imagine. So it never stops. It never.
You've been asking for that roster for a while now, huh?
Yeah, I love it, man. I just want a second round pick so bad that we can get a wing or a guard or something like that. Have fun with. But again, thank you everyone for watching. Give this video a like if you like what you see. For Rob, he is at Philly_Madness. I'm a man, Ryan Reese, at Philly Sports PSA. Amazing Philly sports content. Share the love. Comment down below your favorite Philly sports prospects for Rob, for Ryan, for myself. Stay awesome, everyone.